Having more energy is intricately tied to greater health, a longer life, and higher quality of life. Here's why. The inability to produce energy efficiently leads to all the problems we don't want: fatigue, weight gain, low libido, brain fog, inflammation, faster aging, etc. How our bodies and cells function dictates how we move, feel, recover, think, and age. For the past 4 years, I've spent a ton of time in researching how to optimize my health markers. I've tried to get superior scores for things like glucose levels, HRV, sleep score percentage, reduce fat percentage, improve lipid profile, you name it. The frustratingly obvious element I see that's very tied to this optimization is having high energy. Just having more energy signals that the cells in your body function right. The ability to create enough energy speeds up recovery. It sort of dictates how fast we'll age, and it gives us the resources we need to live the life we want. In a nutshell, higher energy means better function. But how do you fill up your battery from 40 to 90% and reclaim your 20s energy? That's the focus of Recharge, the 11 science-backed ways to go from tired to energetic. It's what we'll explore today. So get seated, prepare a cup of coffee, and let's dig in. I know, this video is going to be probably upwards of 20 minutes or more. So if you can't hold attention to the end of this, that's okay. Recharge is probably not going to be a product for you. You can skip it and enjoy your day forward. But on the other hand, if you believe you can significantly increase your energy levels, feel better, upgrade your life quality, and extend your life by more than 10 years, I think it's worth spending a few minutes to focus. Let's dig in. Most people live at a 40 to 50% battery all the time, which is not okay. The majority of working adults wake up tired, drag through their 9 to 5s, and come home exhausted. This isn't just being busy. This is a sign of physiological dysfunction, a decline in function. Stats show that 45% of American adults wake up tired for up to 3 days per week. We've normalized fatigue just as a part of being an adult. In a way, we've accepted the status quo as if being tired all the time it's okay, but it's not. It signals dysfunction. It signals that our cells aren't working as they should. Energy drink sales have exploded to over 50 billion globally as people seek artificial energy. The average American consumes about 3 cups of coffee daily just to function normally. Medical visits for fatigue-related complaints have significantly increased in the past 2 decades. So, despite having more food than ever, more convenience and safety, we're actually more tired than ever before. This isn't about working harder. This is about the metabolic breakdown, the modern lifestyle which creates an epidemic of energy dysfunction. How do we reverse it? At the base, the body is in a state of decline as it relates to aging. Aging comes with an inevitable decline in organ function. Your heart becomes less efficient at pumping blood and oxygen, your brain processes information way slower and struggles with memory formation, your muscles lose mass and strength to about 3 to 5% per decade after the age of 30, and your cellular repair mechanisms become sluggish, leading to accumulated damage. So far, we can't or we don't know a way to reverse or stop aging. However, it has been shown that we can meaningfully slow down the decline in function. While society has conditioned us that being tired all the time is normal, it's not. We have created sort of a culture where being exhausted or being tired and being busy all the time, we wear that like a badge of honor, like I'm working very hard. But our bodies aren't designed to struggle in a low power mode. Our bodies are designed to be energetic, vibrant, and vital. The goal isn't just surviving, the bare minimum. The goal is thriving with abundant energy, having the energy to do what we want in life. I always use this energy thing, ATP, as a currency metaphor, just so we understand it easier. In the book Recharge, I talk a lot about the four currencies. We have energy, time, money, and attention. You can choose to play your life however you want, but the majority of our life revolves around these four things, having more of each one. Now, the typical modern day human wastes a large portion of their energy and time in order to gather money, gather resources, so they can live better at an older age. But what we forget is that in that equation, energy and attention are equally as important. Slowing the pace of aging by living a healthier lifestyle mean we can do this for longer. We can gather wealth for longer, if you will. Just as you would be very cautious of where you invest your money and how you spend your money and how you work to earn it, so we should be cautious with where we invest our energy. Because one thing that we know is we don't have unlimited resources and amounts of energy. However, if we can rationally invest it in the smart assets, in the smart areas, we can multiply life and experiences. Think of your bank account. If it measures money, think of your energy account. How do you feel on a daily basis? If you live on a low energy, if you live on low power mode all the time, the problem with that is you're going to be more enticed to do quick, brain pleasuring things like scrolling on TikTok or eating fast food. If your energy account is full, you kind of have more resources to go around, so you can go into an activity like building a relationship or having an intense exercise session or investing your energy into creating a business that are more long-term, sustainably making your life better. So think of building your energy reserves as building wealth. It requires discipline, but it pays compound interest in the future. Cellular dysfunction means lower ability to create energy efficiently. The cells in your body contain mitochondria. These are like tiny power plants in your cells that help create ATP, the energy currency. When these cellular engines become damaged or insufficient, which happens with aging or an unhealthy lifestyle, then everything takes a breather. Everything slows down in the body. Energy production drops. Poor nutrition starves cells of the raw materials needed for energy creation. Oxidative stress from toxins and inflammation damages the cell. Lack of exercise fails to stimulate mitochondrial growth and efficiency. Sleep deprivation prevents cellular repair and regeneration. The result is your body's running on a half power or low power mode, struggling to keep up. I want to show you the typical 4 easy to understand areas of dysfunction in our body that show up. Brain fog is one. It's when your brain doesn't have enough of this ATP currency for your neural cells to communicate effectively in between them. So this results in memory loss or poor cognition. Next up is weight gain. Again, the body cannot make enough ATP from the food that you're eating, so your metabolism slows down and your body enters sort of a hoarding phase rather than an expensive phase, where it tries to store as much energy and slow your metabolism down while also increasing your hunger and appetite. Next up is chronic inflammation. When this shows up, the body needs to use massive reserves amounts of energy to fight infections or to get that inflammation down. So it's constantly using energy ineffectively. Low libido signals hormonal dysfunction and insufficient energy invested into reproductive function, and we'll see why later on. So persistent fatigue is your sign that something malfunctions in the body, that the cells aren't really at the optimal level yet. Most of these things, like the brain fog, the weight gain, and inflammation, aren't separate issues. They are all an underlying cause of the energy crisis in the body. Now let's touch on the HPL interconnection. There is a full chapter reserved for this one. H stands for health, L for longevity, P for performance. The point of this is to understand that supporting health improves performance, which also promotes longevity. The healthier an organ is, the better it'll function. The better it functions, the longer you can sustain that function for. So these three things are sort of interconnected. To explain this, we'll look at three simple examples: the brain, the heart, and muscles. The brain is made up of 60% fat, and the quality of those fats determine the neural integrity, the neural structure. If you eat healthier fats like omega-3s, EPA, and DHA, the membrane, the structural foundation of your nervous system, is more solid. That's brain health. Better membrane integrity means better neural communication, faster neural communication, meaning greater focus, memory recall, and higher alertness, aka improved brain performance. Now, if you want to sustain cognitive function for longer, one of the most important things is to use your healthy brain, to play puzzles, to train for balance, to engage in conversations, so you continuously work to use their brain. So one of the best ways to sort of decline this is to feed your brain the right nutrients and use it, aka brain longevity. It's sort of like long-term, healthier brains are more protected from cognitive decline. Now let's go on to heart function. High-intensity cardio trains your heart. It makes it stronger, it makes it pump out more blood more effectively and faster. This increases your VO2 max, the maximum amount of oxygen your body can utilize to perform an activity, aka a boost in performance/endurance. So a well-trained heart is probably going to contribute to better circulation, which means more oxygen and nutrients for the cells and tissues, enhancing recovery. That on its own contributes to longevity because cardiovascular disease risk then drops. Plus, an increased VO2 max is a very strong indicator of longevity, how long one lives. So it's a win-win to do cardio. Next thing is muscle. Muscle tissue is your most metabolically active tissue, burning more calories at rest. Training for strength increases your muscle mass and strength. This enhances your metabolic health because the glucose roller coaster of spikes and drops isn't as high because the muscle can pull in more glucose, contributing to metabolic health. In terms of performance, stronger muscles will enable you to run faster and lift heavier and endure for longer, which is exactly what makes you more functional and able to move. Being able to move for longer again contributes to longevity because if you can maintain strength, maintain movement, mobility, and cardiovascular health, that's exactly all you need to live longer. Plus, stronger muscles will lead to greater confidence, reduce the risk of injury and the pressure on the joints while improving posture, all of which aid in longevity. The key focus in optimizing health performance or longevity is on the mitochondria. These are the tiny power plant organelles in your body that help create ATP. Most of the things we know or consider healthy, like exercise or fasting or cold exposure, to an extent train the mitochondria, condition the mitochondria to produce more energy. Most of the cells in your body contain these tiny energy factories. Damaged or inefficient mitochondria are linked to aging, chronic fatigue, and diseases. With centenarians, those people living over 100, showing preserved mitochondrial bioenergetics. There is this coenzyme that helps mitochondria function better. It's called NAD+. And research shows that NAD+ levels decline significantly by around 10 to 25% in the brain, 30% in the liver, and up to 50% in the skin compared to youthful levels. This decline reduces the activity of sirtuins or SIRT1 pathway, which impairs mitochondrial biogenesis and the capacity of the cell to repair. We actually grow new mitochondria, that's called mitochondrial biogenesis, and we can also improve the way they're functioning using different things like exercise has been proven to, fasting or reducing caloric intake, and also certain nutrients show to act as signals for mitochondrial biogenesis. So yes, mitochondria is one of the key things in focus if you are looking at optimizing health, energy, and living longer. Make sure to read the studies yourself, links in the description. Now, let's touch on what I consider to be the number one problem of the modern day human. I like to call it metabolic dysfunction. It's where most weight gain and energy problems originate from. Metabolic dysfunction is your body's, your cell's inability to create enough energy efficiently from the food and calories we're consuming. Although enough calories have been consumed, because of poor metabolic function, these haven't been actually utilized to create enough energy. Your cells are still sort of starving for nutrients. The brain recognizes this and thinks that what'll solve the problem because we're tired is eating more, because food represents energy, remember? But the thing is, this is an already overloaded system whose main problem isn't not getting enough calories, but not being able to utilize those calories to create X amount of energy. So our brain interprets this as we're hungry and we need to eat more. But eating more mostly doesn't solve this problem because the system is already overloaded. Eating more will only cause slower metabolism, weight gain, and also potentially develop into insulin resistance. Breaking this cycle actually hits the reset button for one's metabolism, which for most people is done by eating less glucose, or eating glucose less frequently, aka fasting, low carb, keto, calorie restriction, etc. The body uses massive amounts of energy just for regular survival. Just for you to be able to survive, the body needs to create all this energy just for you to metabolize food, recover during sleep. The brain only consumes 20% of your energy needs daily, despite being just 2% of the full weight. The heart, the liver, the kidneys, the immune system require massive amounts of energy for you to function. Now, when energy production doesn't meet these needs, isn't sufficient enough, we don't have enough energy, what happens is other not so essential functions like muscle growth or certain hormone production or cellular repair, cognitive function, all take a hit. They all slow down. This is why people with poor energy feel like they're surviving instead of thriving, because they're literally surviving using all the energy they have to maintain their bodies being alive. Meeting your cellular energy needs is kind of like the prerequisite, it's like the basic, the bare minimum. But if we want to do things in life, we want to have a lot more than that. If we want to thrive, be active, and take risks, be mobile, run, hike, and enjoy life's experiences, we need way more than the bare minimum amount to sustain life. The problem with decline in function is there's this hidden cost of us believing we don't want to do X, when in reality we just can't do X. So many people think they don't want to travel, surf, exercise, or take on some adventure. But reality is, our brain knows that we have limited capacity, so it subtly decreases our motivation to actually want that thing. So in a way, with time, as our function declines, we sort of limit ourselves to what's possible, to what we're able to do, and that determines what we want. However, when you regain your 20s energy back, you actually see the real difference between you don't want and you actually can't do X. So maybe one thinks they don't want to go on a hike with their friends or sprint up a mountain, when in reality it's just because their hips hurt. Or when we're not willing to lift our dog anymore because we're just not as strong enough. Or not initiating sex because we're just too tired from work. True vitality expands when you have the energy, the resources that will allow you to do stuff, to experience life fully. So yes, Can we surf? Can we ski? Can we hike up a mountain? Do we have the energy and cognitive capacity to create a thriving business, to form deep connections, and to solve complex problems? That's all reliant on energy. I like to talk about the peak. In most humans, physical and mental performance pretty much peaks somewhere between 25 and 35. Now, most people feel best in their 20s, and most males who exercise a lot feel best in their 35s. That's like the prime age where, up to that point, everything goes up. You get more muscular, you are more resilient, more confident, your heart's working better, you can run, etc. And that is again for people who train. Most people who don't feel at their peak between 20 and 25. But then when you come up to the top of the mountain, it's like you're still working out, you're still doing everything, but there's like this floating sensation where nothing seems to be going up. And after the age of 40 to 45, there is this noticeable decline in function. There's like a noticeable drop in muscle mass and strength for about 3 to 5% per decade. VO2 max starts dropping between 0.5 to 1% per year. Hormone production declines, slowing our recovery, decrease in energy. Most of us accept this as inevitable, but the rate of decline is largely under our control. We may not be able to stop or reverse aging yet, however, we can meaningfully slow down the progression of this fast drop. Now, I'll show you the spiral effect of how training more, eating healthier, and sleeping deeper actually helps you do all these three things better and live longer, of course. Eating healthier. When you start fueling your body with the right nutrient-dense foods, energy increases and hunger decreases. This is very logical. Instead of craving calories, your body understands that your cells need actual real nutrients. Nutrients that typically come from vegetables, fruits, full-fat dairy, meat, eggs, nuts, seeds, etc. We're talking about high-quality amino acids, vitamins, minerals, and fiber. In the modern-day human, the most common way to hit the metabolic reset button and lose weight is actually starting to eat real foods or practicing a way to decrease glucose consumption, either in total or glucose consumption frequency during the day. This is done by engaging in things like intermittent fasting, reducing caloric intake, or low-carb dieting or keto diets, which help the body gain metabolic flexibility, the ability to shut glucose down and actually run your energy on fats, using them as the main fuel. When we hit the metabolic reset button, the body increases how efficiently it produces energy, so your brain doesn't actually send such hunger hormone signals because your energy isn't crashing all the time due to carbs, but it's actually more sustained for longer because we've learned the art of tapping into fats for fuel. This creates an upward spiral where your brain doesn't need junk food as much anymore because your cells are actually satisfied. On a cellular level, you've provided enough nutrients, enough energy, enough raw materials that build the body not to need or want quick pleasure. Next up is sleep, arguably the most important biological process, the highest return on investment thing you can optimize for better health and longevity. If you take one out of the equation, sleep, exercise, and good nutrition, which one will turn you into a zombie the fastest? Yes, it's probably sleep. Quality sleep is essential for recovery. It is very strongly tied into controlling your mood, into lowering your stress, into enhancing your recoverability and resetting those energy levels. There is sort of an upward spiral where your life just gets better and your sleep gets better when you sleep deeper. Let me show you what I mean. Better sleep increases heart rate variability, which signals that your autonomic nervous system functions better, you're more well-rested, higher energy, and well-recovered. You're also more adaptable to stress. So a higher HRV means you can balance and adapt to stressors better. automatically means certain mood issues like anxiety and depression are slightly lowered and you can function at a better baseline. When your mood is stable and you have better emotional regulation, what follows is better brain function, which means again improved stress management and improved results in your life due to a higher cognitive input. Thus, lower stress contributing to a more restorative deep sleep. Then, as you know, if you want to be the healthiest version of you, you need to get your fitness up and train to gain stronger muscles, stronger heart, and stronger bones. Strength training is critical for setting the foundation of strength and muscle. Having sufficient strength and muscle helps you move better. It makes you more functional. It of course makes you stronger and more resilient, but it also reduces the risk of injury and it makes sure you're going to be mobile and move for longer. The more of an effective mover you become, the more elastic energy you can store and the further or more you can move. What does strength training entail? Improved mobility and reduced risk of injury. This makes movement smoother, which increases the chances you'll do it more. Then we have aerobic activities like cardio. Swimming, running, cycling, they stimulate your heart and lungs to work together to transfer more oxygen in the body, increasing your VO2 max, improving endurance, which just ensures you can move for longer. More movement is crucial to stimulate mitochondria growth and improve their function, which is exactly what you need to create more energy and move more. So in a way, if you start training and you don't overdo it, the likelihood of you wanting to train more, keeping up a highly movement-based routine, doing your cardio and doing your strength training, and also moving more later when you approach older age is highly increased. It sort of creates the positive feedback loop, particularly when it comes to stimulating those brain chemicals, the endorphins, which makes all runners love loving, or dopamine and testosterone, which makes all weightlifters love their strength session. So, if you want to optimize the way your body functions, welcome. I've gathered this 4-year research into a single digital product designed for the modern day human. It's called Recharge: How to Go from Tired to Energetic. It explains the 11 high return on investment habits to increase your energy, reset your bodies, and feel like you're in your 20s again. You have an in-depth context on how things like fasting or weightlifting or blocking blue light and more work. Each chapter has the science behind it, explains the context, and practical application in real life. It's a digital set of 3 elements: an ebook, 12 high-quality videos, and a habit tracker, all for $64. Or you can just get the ebook for $24. But how do you know you're the right fit for this? Well, that's the thing. We've created a 33-question quiz which you can answer and find out how filled your battery is from 0 to 100%. If you're above 90, you probably don't need us. However, if you're below, the quiz showcases the 3 to 4 high return on investment areas where you would likely gain the most benefits. For some, this is eating less glucose, for others, taking more steps, or improving your sleeping habits. Take the quiz and find out. Links in the description, or just scan this QR code. And oh, the best thing? You can actually read 3 chapters of the book for free and decide if it's up to your standard and if it is for you. If spending a few minutes of your time now to potentially lengthen your life for years and feel those with energy and more meaningful experiences sounds like a good deal, see you on the other side.